Hey, I'm Brian. Becoming a dad isn't easy. I'm a father of three, and early on, I would always avoid the toughest questions that would linger deep inside of me. Questions I think, if I addressed, would have made me a better father early on. But that's the past, and now I have a chance to fix that. And I hope by answering some of these questions, it can help another dad out there. So, why is my baby suddenly so fussy? They mentioned these leap weeks, these developmental weeks that happen every, 3, 6, 9 weeks, and this happens to be week 6. But not only is your child making a leap, there's also another person making a leap, and that person is you. Don't get me wrong, like early on, every week seems like a leap week, right? Like every week seems like there's a lot of action, but week 6 specifically, the baby's going through some things. They might be opening up their eyes longer, longer wake windows. You find that they might cling to you more. They don't like to be put down for naps anymore. They're just more aware, right, of their surroundings. They, I think at this point they realize they're in the world now, right? And, sometimes the world isn't that welcoming of a place, right? At least when you're trying to make an adjustment into it. And, yeah, nothing might work. Um, Remember, there was this time where my first son was the dream son, right? Like, never had any issues. But my daughter, the middle one in the family, who's now 3, it felt like every week was a leap week, right? Every week she wouldn't sleep. Every week she was fussy. Every week she was clingy. I remember there was this one time where I just couldn't get anything right. I just was so fed up. Um, I remember being so anxious. And at one point, every time I held my baby, my daughter, she would arch her back, right? You know that move that the babies do where they arch their back backwards, and it shows that they're uncomfortable, right? That basically shows they're unhappy, right? Like, I'm no body language expert, but, you know, someone arches their back and screams and cries, typically that's not a good sign, right? And that would happen a lot. It would happen a lot. Um, then I would put the baby down for a nap, and she would cry. So it's like, I didn't know what to do, right? Like, if I'm holding you, you're crying, and when I'm putting you down, you're crying, and when you're just lying on the floor beside me, you're crying. It's like I'm out of options, right? And regardless, there was this one day where I think it was around middle of the day, and I might have been running on very little sleep, and I just threw my hands up in the air, and I told my wife, "Can you just take her? I just can't handle it. Like, I just can't right now." And she said something to me that'll always, you know, I'll always remember. She, she said she can sense your anxiety, and whether my wife was right or wrong, I mean, I don't know if me being less anxious would have helped, but that stuck with me, right? And 5 years later, that still sticks with me because I think I know, or I know my baby could sense my energy at that point, and definitely when they're older, right? They can sense your energy, and the one thing I've come to realize about fatherhood is, and the one thing I've learned to accept is, you have to relinquish a lot of control. You gotta understand that you can't control the situation most of the times. You can't control the result, right? You can have all the best intentions. You can have the best strategy. You can do things by the book, but end of the day, the baby's gonna be what the baby's gonna be, right? And in this stage of life, week 6, some word of advice: there's not much you can do, right? There's not much you can do. But what I realized is when my wife told me that, and when she said, "Hey, she can sense your," she said, "Baby can sense your anxiety." That was when I realized, like, I could at least control me, right? I can't control the baby, and maybe there's nothing that we can do at that time to, help with the fussiness. If the baby's gassy, you can give it some drops, but you can give it some BioGaia drops, but end of the day, their systems are developing, their body's changing, and they're gonna feel it's gonna be some hard times, right? Like, there's so much change going in their bodies, and that fussy face is what it is, right? But I think I realized was that, yeah, the baby's gonna be fussy, but I don't have to be a fussy dad, right? That was one thing I could control. I could control, being calm, being collected, just accepting the situation for what it is. And with my third child, I did a lot better with that approach. I just, obviously you're equipped with more skills, right? You know what to expect, but that calming demeanor, it rubs up. Your kids see that. And, if you're watching this and you're a new dad, I know it's hard, man. I know I know you're making your own leaps as well, right? As a dad, you're probably going through so much change that in just a few weeks that I know it's a lot. But I'll end it with this, your baby's gotta be fussy regardless, right? But that doesn't have to be you as well, right? That doesn't have to be you. If you're a new dad, I really hope this video helped you. And I'll see you in the next one.